Good morning, and welcome to the Church of All Due Respect. Today is October 27th, I believe, 2025, and my name is Elan. I'm really happy that you joined me today. I'm going to be continuing on my little, expose on these breathing exercises that I've been learning about for about 5 or 6 years now. I was introduced to this idea from a person you may have come across on the web before named Wim Hof. And he accredits these breathing exercises to being able to do pretty fantastic physical feats. And so that's kind of what got me interested in it. And as a musician, I decided it would be beneficial to me, at least, to compose songs that could act as a little bit of structure for these breathing exercises so that you could start to do them in a regular way and kind of have a little bit of an anchor to determine your progress or the mental effects of it and the physical effects of it. And it, in my opinion, can really elevate the breathing experience, having some cool music going along with it. So if there's any other musicians out there that kind of like this idea and want to run with it, please compose some songs. It doesn't have to be complicated music to suffice for this purpose. So you're really left with a lot of creative options to do that. But anyways, today I was hoping to just talk a little bit before I do a breathing exercise video. But this one's just going to be talking about the process that I take to do these breathing exercises. So hopefully maybe this will give you some idea or some context for if you watch my videos and you're kind of wondering, what am I doing here? What's going on here? If it's not obvious from the video. So the first thing I want to address is the intensity of the breathing. Now, a lot of people get very, very much turned off of these exercises almost immediately because of how intense the breathing is and how uncomfortable that can really make the body. And it's much like learning how to run, where even if it's been years and years since you've ever gone for even just a light jog, running around the block even will be pretty tiring, and you might reach these mental obstacles as you're going forward. But as you continue to run, you start to realize that these mental obstacles, what they maybe originally felt like physical obstacles, such as losing your breath or just feeling really tired, that they're actually just mental obstacles that with persistence, your body ends up and your mind ends up sort of being able to jump over the wall of that obstacle. And then it's in a totally different arena. And maybe there will be another obstacle further along, but it's sort of this step-by-step kind of process that I found where you can definitely, it's like any sort of exercise. You're going to have to start somewhere, and breathing along exactly at my pace. If you've never done any of these breathing exercises before, don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Just let yourself breathe as intensely as you can, and let yourself go through those physical and those mental obstacles. Maybe you might feel, like panicking. Sometimes when we breathe through the mouth really intensely, it sort of excites this sort of panic response where the body is saying, no, what the heck are we doing here? We need to stop this. And I'm not a scientist, so all I can say is my own personal effects from these exercises. And in my own life, I've realized that it's very beneficial to work through those obstacles. And you realize, it was really just a mental block and not really a physical block. And there's this whole other realm of experience with these breathing exercises that are just beyond that obstacle. So go slow and meet those obstacles and observe them when they're happening. You can say, oh yeah, this is me kind of panicking and my body really trying to ask me to stop. Or holy smokes, I'm super sweaty right now just from sitting and breathing. What the heck is going on there? And let yourself go through those different obstacles, just like with working out or lifting weights or anything like that. Now you want to be safe about it, so I would recommend, when in these breathing exercises, you don't want to be doing them while you're doing other activities. You want to have a place where you're seated comfortably. If you're very new to these exercises, do them sitting on the floor if that makes you feel any better. We're certainly not going for this feeling of passing out or anything like that. We're very much conscious during this whole time. I just want to be clear about that. But some people might feel like it kind of is walking the line between the conscious realm and maybe the subconscious realm. The other thing I wanted to talk about was nose versus mouth breathing. Now, in one of my previous videos, I said that I mostly try to just breathe through the nose. And I may contradict myself a little bit in this video from that statement. But just to be clear, I find, for the most part, breathing through the nose is very, very helpful in terms of creating a long-lasting calm and alert effect throughout the day after these breathing exercises. But after I said that in one of my previous videos, I was starting to remember, I was like, no, actually, I went through a big stage where I was very much experimenting through mouth breathing with these exercises. And the effect is very, very different. If I'm going for the body heat and trying to really elevate my own body temperature and maybe get a sweat on, then I've realized that mouth breathing is where it's at. And it can produce some very, very unique mental effects through the breathing through the mouth. The only thing about breathing through the mouth is that, at least in my experience, it very much brings on that panic feeling in the body a lot more intensely than breathing through the nose. So it should be known. At least in my experience, I invite you to experiment as well and see, maybe comment if you feel like sharing some of your own experiences with the nose versus the mouth breathing. The last thing that I'd like to talk about in this video is, I guess, the timeline of how I do the breathing, because there is a regular form, I guess, to this exercise that I take. So the beginning part is increasing my breathing rate. So increase breathing. And I bring that up to, many times I use the music as a guide, and I try to match the tempo of the music. So sometimes if I'm doing a more calm breathing session, I might try to match my breath to, I don't know, maybe breathing on whole notes. So counting 4 beats to the bar. And other times, if I'm really trying to bring on an intense breathing exercise, I'll try my best to roughly breathe as half notes, so twice the frequency. And if you increase the frequency of breaths over time, then the effect tends to be much, much stronger. So the first part of these breathing exercises, I'm acclimating myself to the more intense breathing rhythm. So you might notice that at the beginning of the videos, I might not be matching my breath perfectly to the tempo, but as soon as I'm able to, especially when the main part of the song begins and the rhythmic elements start to really come in, that's when I'm trying to focus more on the tempo and maintaining a steady tempo throughout the whole song. So the first step is increasing your breathing. The next step is, I'm just writing it down here on a whiteboard. I hope that doesn't turn out backwards. It might. So the next step is sustaining an intense rhythm of breath. So here we go. Step number 2, sustaining an intense rhythm as best as I can. And the very last part of the breathing exercises that I try to do is some breath holds at the very end. And this can be the most fantastic part of the whole breathing exercise, in terms of the mental effects that it can give you. And I feel as if I should be very upfront about that, where it's almost like taking a psychedelic that's endogenous. So you're not actually having to take anything, you're just using your own breath, but you're able to achieve these temporary states of mind that are very much different than your typical state of mind, in just mundane existence, I guess, for lack of better words there. So at the very end of the intense breathing sesh, I will do some breath holds. So after the breathing, after I can tell that the song is starting to end, at that point, I will take as deep an inhale as I can, and I will hold it. So hold, inhale, and this is an interesting part of the exercise. At this point, it feels as if my body and all of my cells are so full of oxygen, and I'm able to hold a breath sometimes for a remarkably long time. And that doesn't happen every single time, and this is still part of my own learning with this exercise. But I found with certain ways of doing these exercises, sometimes I'll be able to comfortably hold my breath for minutes at a time, which is pretty phenomenal. And during that time, what's going on internally within myself is a very calm feeling comes over my perception, and it feels as if my imaginative eye is able to open way up, and all of a sudden it's like my imagination is painting a beautiful picture or continuing this. It can be very insightful. I don't really know how to describe it. But generally during that time, it's a very much calming alertness that comes over myself, where I'm aware of what's going on around me, but I'm very much aware of what's going on in the mind. And the things that go on in the mind can be quite phenomenal at that time. So I'll hold as big of an inhale as I can at the end. And then when I'm feeling the desire to breathe out, I will then try my best to breathe out and do one more breath hold with a near empty lung, or a near just a comfortable amount of exhale. And I'll do one more breath hold at the very end. So hold, exhale, out. And so there's these three main parts of it, where we increase the breathing rate, then we sustain that breathing rate, and then at the end of the song we do some breath holds. And that's typically the form that I like to take every single time that I do these exercises. Now I'll still play around with that. Sometimes I like to do the nose breathing, sometimes I'll choose to do the mouth breathing, and that really depends on how I'm feeling that day. Sometimes I like going outside when it's really cold out there and doing lots of mouth breathing, just to feel my body able to produce that heat, even in pretty cold temperatures. You know, I'm just outside of my house here, so I'm not going out into the wilderness and doing that or anything like that. Although you do hear stories of that, of certain practitioners of yoga and breath work who are able to use breathing techniques to survive out in very, very extreme conditions. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm so happy you were here to listen, and I'm going to be doing a breathing exercise video right after this. So please let me know if you get any value out of this at all. Let me know. I'm super excited to be sharing this with people. It's brought a lot of value into my own life, and something that I'm very, very, very grateful that I've come across. So I'm hoping that at least, even if it just reaches one person out there that is able to find some value in these breathing exercises, then all of these videos will be completely worth it. And even if not, I'm still having a lot of fun making them, so I hope you guys can feel that and are enjoying at least my presence here in these videos. So thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you tune in to my next breathing video. I'm gonna be doing some mouth breathing on it, so you might be seeing me getting pretty sweaty in the next one. Ugh. Bye for now. Thank you for joining the Church of All Due Respect. My name is Elan. See you next time.